is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop about research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared from our students, faculty, and other members of our USC community. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Viterbi Voices. This is one of your co-hosts, Emily Powis, and I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering. Unfortunately, Paul can't join today because he's on vacation, but I do have an awesome guest with us today, Peyton. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Peyton. I'm a current sophomore here at USC studying mechanical engineering.
Awesome. And what's your episode about today?
Yeah, so today my episode is about minors at USC. I'm joined with 4 awesome interviewees, and we have a great, about 45-minute long discussion about our experiences minoring at USC.
Awesome. And so you have a minor. What's your minor?
Yeah, so I have a minor in disruptive innovation in the Ivy and Young Academy.
Okay, super cool. And do you go into like what that is in the episode at all?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely kind of talk about each of our minors. Some people have some interesting ones I hadn't heard of either, so that's kind of a cool insight. We have minors inside of Viterbi, outside of Viterbi, some dance, classics, some fun stuff for you guys.
Okay, awesome. Well, I can't wait to get into it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Minor Roundtable podcast. We have some great panelists joining us today, and I wanted to start off by having each of them introduce themselves.
Hey all, so my name is Matthew Kloss. I'm a senior right now, majoring in biomedical engineering. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and my minor is in the classics.
Hey everyone, my name is Jordan. I'm a junior also studying biomedical engineering and minoring in dance, and I'm from Yorba Linda, California.
And hi everyone, my name is also Jordan, but I am a computer science major from Seattle, Washington, and my minor is in quantitative biology and bioinformatics.
Hi everyone, my name is Cameron, or Cami. My minor is in game programming and game design, and I major in electrical engineering, and I'm from LA.
Awesome. Just to round that out, my name is Peyton Erickson. I'll be the moderator of this roundtable today. I'm a mechanical engineering major from Ventura, California, and I also have a minor in disruptive innovation, so I might pop in and answer a few questions as well. So let's get right into it. Can someone answer for the audience what is a minor, in case some of our listeners aren't sure?
Yeah, sure. So a minor is basically going to be, it's essentially a smaller major. It's just going to be a number of credits and classes that you can take that give you kind of a smaller bite of what a major in a certain separate area from your major would be. So you'll take a certain amount of classes. For instance, my minor is only 20 units compared to my major, which is like 130. They vary in size and complexity, but essentially it's just a smaller course of study that tries to get you a broad understanding of that field.
Awesome. And I kind of wanted to start off today for all of our listeners. Did you guys come to USC knowing you wanted to minor?
I didn't come to USC necessarily knowing I wanted to minor, but I came to USC knowing that I wanted to pursue like 2 very disparate things. I came to USC and I knew I wanted to study biomedical engineering while not losing my passion for dance. And just USC's dance program is so well structured, and they have such great world-renowned faculty that I knew that I would want to take class with them, which is why I added my minor.
I think my path to minoring, so essentially for an explanation for the audience, because I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with quantitative biology and bioinformatics, think of it like the baby between microbiology and computer science. So computers, this minor uses a lot of computer science principles and applies it to biology and specifically genetics. So for me, I actually wanted to do something in the bio field. Originally, I came to USC as a biomedical engineer like Matthew and Jordan, but I ended up switching to computer science, and I wanted to integrate biology into my studies. So that's why I added my minor. So my minor is more of like an ad hoc thing that I decided to add at the end of my freshman year.
Cool.
Jordan's low key just doing our major, except in an even cooler way.
I know.
Skip all the physics.
But yeah, for me, I would say that my minor kind of came about just because. So for people that don't know, the classics is a really weird and highfalutin elitist term for just studying essentially like ancient civilization. So usually focused on like Greek or Roman, but also getting into like Mesopotamian and Persian civilizations, as well as those of like North Africa, and really anything from like really early antiquity. But for me, I had been studying Latin for like 7 years in high school, and I was really worried coming in that I wouldn't be able to really hold on to that. It was something I really enjoyed, but obviously engineering's a lot. But it ended up working out that I could join it. And so it was something that I just wanted to hold on to, kind of similar to Jordan.
Yeah, and for me, I don't know. It was kind of like I didn't know anything about minors really coming into USC. I just planned to take my major and I was like, that's it. I can't do anything else besides that. I'm going to be stuck as an engineering viterbi nerd, and that's it. That's okay with me. But once I heard about the different programs that you could take as like classes within your schedule and that fit with your schedule, I was like, well, then I can try some of like the activities that I like doing. And that was game design. I took like this senior course. I audited this course and on like senior game design, and I got to watch all these seniors kind of like stress over game making, but it was so cool to me because I was like, wow, I love video games because I game every freaking night. But I mean, I don't know any of the process behind it, and seeing the behind the scenes is cool. And I was just like, well, I want to experience that for myself. So I took a game design introductory course, and now I'm stuck with it as a programming and design minor. So that was kind of how my story went.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think when I came in, I was always set on like minoring in entrepreneurship. And I feel like so many prospective students will tell you they want to do that. And getting here, I just kind of started like looking at the different programs and found disruptive innovation. And I thought it was kind of a cool spin on like design and more design focused, less than business focused. And that's kind of how I landed on that. But I think one of the questions I get asked most is how challenging is it to fit a minor into the engineering schedule? So I thought maybe a couple of us could ease the mind of listeners, because here's 5 great examples of people that get to do the best of both worlds.
So for me, it's definitely kind of, I mean, it's very doable, but it is definitely a lot to be doing a minor along with an engineering major. I say it a lot to my friends as kind of a complaining tone, even though I love it, is that I don't think I've ever actually picked a class for ever in my time at USC. I've always just been like, okay, I need to take these classes. They're the only ones that are going to fit, and figure out my requirements. It's going to be that way every semester. I'm never like, ooh, browsing, is this one going to be cooler than that one? It's just, that one fits in my schedule. I will absolutely do that because that's what I have time for. And that's kind of how it ends up going with a minor. But I really like all the classes in my minor, even if I can't really, pick and choose in it. I love all the classes that it works for. Luckily for classics, a lot of that ends up overlapping with some of the GEs that you have to take. So that has helped kind of fill out that scheduling as well, which has been definitely really nice. But it's absolutely doable. And it's just really nice to kind of have those classes to offset your engineering along with all the classes that we normally take as engineers.
I'll definitely say I think it varies by minor, because Matt and I are the same major. But for me with my dance minor, again, some of my dance minor classes count as GE credit, but I do have flexibility in my schedule going into my senior year next year. I think I have like 8 or like 10 open units where I can pick whatever courses I want with completing my minor and my major. So I think it really depends on your minor, but it's definitely possible to fit it both in, because there's ways in which things overlap with other requirements.
For students that are really interested in minoring, there's a lot of advising help at USC. So you end up having a separate minor advisor. So if you are like stressed about potentially adding a minor to your schedule and you're not sure if you have enough space, they will help you figure that out. You do not have to worry about it as like a senior or a freshman coming in. There's plenty of support for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think like communication in the beginning is the most helpful. Like coming in as a freshman, I like kind of had an idea I wanted a minor. And so my advisor helps me kind of look around, see what like fit best in my schedule. I'm with Matthew though. I'm the Mechie and disruptive innovation. I think I have no decisions for the rest of the time here, and I'm like full 18 units every single semester, but it's all classes like at the end of the day I chose to take through my major and through my minor, and so I really do love it. So I guess it's just like the give and take, like, hey, you're going to take these really fun classes, you might not have like the fun sailing electives, but you make it work however you can. Awesome. And then we can transition into what is your guys' favorite part about having a minor, having your specific minor, a fun story you have about your minor that you'd want to share with us.
So definitely the favorite part of my minor is kind of the access to other departments. Viterbi as a whole has like a ton of resources, but a lot of it is very material in a lot of ways, even in the BME department. Like you get to know a lot of people, but there's a lot of people in it when it comes down to it. I mean, it's small in the scheme of colleges, but it's large compared to a classics department that has like 10 professors. I think in my year, there's one person came in as a freshman in my year as a classics major. So there was like 20, 30 people in the whole department as a student. Now there's like 4 majors, people transfer into it because it's that cool. But it's just really nice to have like that very close community feel that you can get from it. They host a tea every Wednesday. There's a book club. There's just all of these like really small events that you don't quite find without, you know, searching very hard in Viterbi, that some of those events kind of can get you out into it. And since it's a smaller department, you just get very, very close to those professors, since it's always the same professor teaching the same thing. With engineering, you have a lot of people that are specialized in certain fields, so you're not going to take the same classes with the same person every time, because obviously you have to learn from everyone. Whereas with the classics, it's kind of people have a broad range of study and you get really in depth with those professors, which is really nice.
I'll say my favorite part about my minor is, as a dance minor, obviously people expect us to be doing more physical activities, which is true. So my minor for me is my almost stress relief from my engineering classes, because this is another area that I'm extremely passionate about, but it almost gives me that like contrast in my schedule that I need, so I can go from my really technical, really sciencey engineering classes and go just dance in a studio and express myself artistically. So I feel like that contrast in my day is what allows me to stay engaged, which is probably my favorite part about my minor, because I can just go straight from an engineering class, take a break with my dance class, doing something else I love, and then go back to math and engineering.
Wait, Jordan, have you ever had one of your BME classes in the dance school and then had a class right after also in the dance school?
Yes, it was, oh my gosh, it was so bad. I came from a dance, like directly from a dance class to my biomedical engineering class, and I would walk upstairs like expecting to go to another dance class, like all sweaty. I would sit down in my BME class and everybody would be like, why are you in dance clothes? Like, why do you have dance shoes on? But I was like, no, I'm here for BME. Like, I'm here for my engineering class. I promise, guys.
Living a double life. Are they in the same building? I had no idea.
No, they are not, but occasionally they put some of the biomedical engineering lectures in the Kaufman School, because so the dance school doesn't have as many lecture classes as they do, like obviously like physical movement classes. So there's a lot of classrooms that like occasionally go unused. So random engineering classes just get to fill this like really new, nice school that was just built probably, I don't know, 3 years ago. So it's really nice. But yeah, you can just have random classes in there.
It's so funny. You're just gonna be in the middle of like a really intensive like signals and systems class, and you just hear people jamming out to like Katy Perry's Roar. It's great.
That could have been me. Matt.
Which room?
The Roar room, not the signals and systems class, not yet.
Awesome. So how have you guys used your minor thus far, whether that's like inside or outside of the classroom? Does anyone have any like unique, fun ways they've kind of blended the two?
Yeah, I actually have a really good example is I'm currently doing research at Viterbi. So I have research under Harvey Lab, which is a haptics lab in our robotics. Like there's a building in Viterbi and there's just like a whole like robotics area for all these research labs. And basically, I have to do a lot of modeling and simulations for tactile devices. And to set all that up, I never knew how to do any of that because they're just like throwing it at me. And I was like, okay, I'll take that as a challenge. In one of my game design classes, we used Unity, and it was a really kind of very, very basic introduction to Unity. And so I was kind of getting used to it. And I was like, well, wait, I can use this as a simulation kind of environment. And I think I can connect like VR stuff to Unity, and then I can like create the tactile devices through VR through Unity. And so I was like, okay, I can combine all of those. And so that's actually the current project I'm working on in my research, is combining a lot of simulation-based games, because they're really perfect for just modeling these real life situations. And it's easier because I can just code in like C# and something like that. And I don't know, it just has like a good leeway between those two, because like, I mean, game design is super fun and I get to make all these little silly fun games, but having that combined with my research makes it a lot easier, because then I can understand those concepts a lot faster, if that makes sense.
That's really cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about what Unity is for some of us that might not know?
Yeah, so Unity is like a game. I would like the simplest, like I'm not gonna go in like the description, Google description of like a very detailed response. I would just say it's really easy, a very easy platform to make simple 2D or 3D games. And so basically all that game making is by modeling different like shapes or squares and all that fun stuff, and using codes such as C#, which is what Unity uses, to make those shapes move about. And basically you can code these player interactions and essentially form a game. And so they like using Unity because it's fast in game design, and it's just a little easier because if you're a beginner, it's a lot easier to understand at first. And they use them a lot in Gameathon. So I used Unity in Gameathon recently, in like actually not recently, last semester. And basically we used it for like 3 days, just coding all these like different scripts to make a 2D platformer game. So like a Mario kind of game. Super fun, but yeah, lots of tutorials on YouTube.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, when you were describing Unity, I'm like, that sounds awesome, but I really have no idea what that is.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's really fun once you get into it. It sounds like a little tough at first, but definitely it's very available for anyone, and it's free to use, free download for students.
And similar to Cameron, I also use my minor a lot in my research. I actually got involved in bioinformatics research before minored in bioinformatics, so I think that drove a lot of my interest. So currently I research at the Center for Genetic Epidemiology in a population genetics lab. So my PI and we do essentially research on examining multi-ethnic cohorts, which are essentially like populations of people that get their DNA sequenced and analyzed who are from like ethnic minorities. So that's essentially what we do. And I'm able to use a lot of my computer science knowledge as well as a lot of like the biology knowledge that I've learned in class in that research. And then it's also like super interesting because in clubs and whatnot, I do a lot of research projects in that like biology XCS field area. So I've used my minor a lot in a lot of different projects.
I'm so impressed.
That's wild. That sounds so cool. Wait, so are you just sequencing these people's things, or are you like running data from those sequences, or?
Yeah, so the lab will end up getting data from people that go out and sequence others, and then we end up running analyses on those data. Like my job, I guess, is mostly to write like pipelines that are able to process like hundreds of different populations. So I'm like quite far along the line from like person to like end result. I'm like the last step before the end result, but yeah, I wish I was out there sequencing people. That'd be much funner.
That still sounds so cool though.
I wish the audience listening out there could like see all of our faces, especially the fact that like a lot of us know each other before that, and I've literally never heard about that. That's one of my favorite things about USC too, is all of like our peers are doing such cool things, and we'll all talk about like, oh, we're gonna eat lunch and like all the random today stuff, and then someone just casually mentions like what they do in their research, and I'm always just floored. Alrighty, so what is like a surprising benefit of your minor that you weren't anticipating when you started it?
Ooh, I have a very canned story for this. So if it sounds canned, it's because it is, because I've used it in every random interview that I've had to do for law school or anything. When people ask me about, oh, why would you ever do classics and biomedical engineering together? Those seem so different. Tell me about it. Basically, my sophomore year, I was taking 2 different courses, and one of our BME courses is pretty heavily focused on just journal article reading. That's something that you really get into, in especially biomedical engineering, since biology research journals are research articles are a little bit esoteric. Like they're always trying to confuse you in them. You have to read between the lines. Professors are always wanting you to find issues in them. And I'm sitting there like, how am I supposed to find issues in a peer-reviewed Nature article? Are you kidding me, Professor Tariq? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here? I'm not qualified. This is a full professor. And it confused me for a whole semester or more. And then I had a realization the other day while I was in one of my classics classes, teaching in like a classroom of like 6 people, which was great, with learning about reading Ovid. And basically Ovid has this whole book where he essentially just absolutely rags on Augustus, but you can't actually do it because it's, Augustus is the emperor, and if you actually rag on him, you'll get executed. So instead he says it by not saying things or by reading between the lines. And I kind of realized that there's a lot of similarities between how I need to be reading that Latin text and drawing details out of it from what's not there and understanding the context of those things. Like, the reason that it's so complicated to read a research article is because you need to understand the context around everything. You can't just be reading it in a vacuum. You need to be Googling the other terms in it, understanding what research this is building on, because then you can understand what they're missing or what they're trying to hide. And so, my ability to read in the classics is kind of what illuminated me to how to be a better research article understander in biomedical engineering. And that's my super canned story that I used for all of my law school interviews.
Well, I hope you got into every law school, because that was a great response.
He got into the best law school. Matthew, you want to share the good news?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Much. I got into Harvard, which fun.
That's so great.
Oh my God. Taking a clapping break. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
I know how hard you work, so that's awesome. If anyone else wants to keep it rolling. Okay.
Oh, I can go ahead and hop in on this one.
Okay.
I think some of you never quite know, especially in a post-COVID world, when having just a little bit of biology knowledge is useful, especially in computer science. So my freshman year, I was in a machine learning project where it was a viral genomics project, and knowing just a little bit about cell biology and how genetics work helped me a lot to understand the project. Because essentially the project was being able to detect and assess how mutations in influenza A could cause a pandemic. So predicting the pandemic, how essentially infectious a mutation could make a virus. So knowing just how genetics work really made me understand the algorithms and be able to apply computer science knowledge to that problem. So I think the more you know, especially as a computer scientist, the better you will do in very applied projects, because chances are you're not just going to be working in a pure CS field. It will be applied to something, and just having more knowledge about the world will make your work a little bit better.
I love that. Yeah, that's definitely, I think, I don't have a big biology background. So I think definitely when the pandemic hit, I was doing a lot of just reading different articles and kind of trying to gain my footing on what was going on. So I can totally understand how a background in that would be so helppful. Personally, I haven't really had a surprise benefit per se for disruptive innovation. I kind of knew when I looked at it. The first thing most people ask me is what is disruptive innovation? And it's kind of just a different way of approaching problems. It's really innovation, design, driven towards entrepreneurship problems, and basically just teaches us different ways to think outside of the box. And we'll take classes like product design and case studies in innovation and hacker imagination. But one class I took that I had benefits I wasn't anticipating was called rapid visualization. And it was actually a drawing class. I really didn't think that would be a part of my minor, but we had a whole class on drawing things to scale and kind of representations and drafting, which was super helpful because last semester I just can't draw at all. And we were trying to build this statics project out of popsicle sticks. We were trying to build a Christmas tree, and I had a perfect idea of what it could be in my head. And I got my iPad and I was trying to show my teammates, and the drawing was atrocious. Eventually I just got the popsicle sticks and started assembling it. But after this class, it's really helped me now, kind of in my, even in my little diagrams and my notes, I can kind of make things to scale, make lines straight, make it all square, different perspectives. And so that was honestly just a really cool class that I probably wouldn't have even thought to take if I didn't have it in my minor.
Sounds so amazing. One of the biggest problems I ran into in my senior design course, I did it literally yesterday. I was struggling so much. all of us terrible at art, incapable of drawing. The scribbles that you will see on our whiteboards in the BME department, horrifying. Literally would make a toddler look good. But we're trying to explain it to each other because a little tiny secret, a little bit ashamed, don't know how to CAD. Very, very bad at it. But one of the people in my group is amazing. He's the best. So he just CADs it all up in like 30 seconds. So we let him do all the work on that. But doesn't really work too well when I can't explain what I want him to make for me and I can't draw it. That would have been the best class when I'm trying to explain, oh, well, I want it. This portion needs to line up with here. And then it pushes into this separate other box. And then you have another box inside that box. God, that would have been the best class to take for engineering. There's so much of it that's just trying to tell your friend what's in your head.
Matt, I love that that's where your head went. My head went when she said draw straight lines. I was like, then I could make my benzene rings like well in OM rather than having chicken scratch. I went somewhere completely different, but no, it sounds like a really fun class.
I was honestly also the fact that I was completely caught off guard the first day. Like I read the course description and it was just about kind of like effectively communicating our ideas and like rapidly visualizing things. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of like more like a dreamscape type. Like we have an idea. How do you get it? How do you explain it to someone? And then day one, he's like, this is called BizCom. Like these are all the pencils you need. This is the drafting paper. And it was like a 3-hour class. And we just sat there with like classical music in the background and he taught us to draw. And I'm just glad that my first drafts didn't need to be shown to anyone because he'd be like, draw a straight line. And I literally was incapable. Like, how can I not draw a straight line? But yeah, fun classes you get to take at USC that you were not expecting. Speaking of favorite classes, what has been your guys' favorite class? It can be like inside your minor, outside your minor. What's been your favorite class at USC?
Okay, by far my favorite class, which I recommend everyone to take, is ballroom dance. I know quite a few people who've taken it, both like dancers and non-dancers alike. They'll teach you everything from scratch, and you basically, it's literally an hour and a half where like our professor teaches us a couple steps, he puts on music, and then you just get to mess around and try like the 2 or 3 steps that you learn to like music nowadays that has the same tempo of whatever dance you're trying to learn. And it's just a really fun social opportunity. So I feel like I got to meet so many people from so many different majors, and I found some of my closest friends through that class as well. So I just thought it was really fun. Shout out to my professor. Jay is amazing and has taught it for so long. He's been in some like Broadway movies. It's a great class. If you have an extra 2 units, I totally advise you to take it.
I have another class that I'm currently in that's technically not within my major, but it's within the same school of my major, ITP. So right now it's called like Hackers to CEOs, and it's like a really random title. I always thought, I was like, I don't really know what this entails, but I like hacking, so I'll try it. It's about basically a class all about cybersecurity. You need to have no understanding of it whatsoever coming in, and you learn everything within there, and you learn how scary the tech world is really behind the scenes. It's really great for technically all majors or anyone that's just interested in that topic, because you basically just learn from the beginning of like how every like tech thing and how things can be easily hackable, and how from like a business standpoint, what you should be aware of when you have a huge like tech world that you have to manage, and understanding the safety measures that go behind the scenes. And so you also get to do labs that basically would pretty much be illegal if you did it otherwise outside of the class, which is super cool. You get to do like cracking passwords. I feel like such a secret spy kind of person when I like launch my little Kali Linux and I'm like putting in the codes they told me to put in. It's very, very cool. I highly recommend. Right now it's taught by Greg Ibbotson. Shout out. He's British and he's super cool.
Wait, Cami, have you seen Mr. Robot, and or has anyone else seen Mr.
Yeah,
Robot?
I love Mr. Robot. That is also the initial reasoning I took that class. I was like, I'm going to become Mr. Robot. That's it.
That's so cool.
Not,
that was
like,
all I was thinking of.
Most amazing show. Everyone should watch it. I think it's a really great show.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
That's awesome. Speaking of hackathons, I know you said you did like a game-a-thon. Have you done any hackathons, Cami?
You know what? That's funny because I was gonna do like I was gonna do the what was it? There was a hackathon that just happened, right? I was gonna do that one, but I ended up not because something came up. So I actually haven't done any hackathons before my like gameathons. So I've done more gameathons where we actually had to like make games before the hackathons. But now I want to do hackathons now that I have like, I don't know. Now I got all the base knowledge, but I would definitely want to try those out. They seem super cool.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite class, Jordan?
Oh, yeah, I guess I feel like my answer is so nerdy because, so I guess like I mentioned before, I transferred into computer science like partway through my freshman year. So essentially like the first part of my my career as a computer science student, I felt super insecure because I was like, oh, I'm not smart enough for this major. Like all these people have been coding for like years. I'm just like a microbiologist in a CS role. Like I felt a lot of imposter syndrome until I took computer science, like CSCI 104, which is the data structures class. It's notoriously known for being hard, complicated, confusing, like just kind of useless. But I had taken that class and I loved it. Like I enjoyed the assignments. I was like data structures, which for those of you that don't know, it's essentially how you can like give your computer information, how that like you can store information the most effective way in your computer. For some reason, I thought it was so interesting. I was like, man, I love the programming assignments. I totally get it. My professor was super friendly. And that was the first time I felt like I was truly prepared to go into computer science, which is known for being a difficult field. I had originally been like, oh, I don't even know if I'm good enough to be in Viterbi. Like, should I go and just go full like quantitative biology? But since that class, which I'm now like a CP, which is like an undergraduate TA for, I felt like a lot more confident and like, you know, computer science is a major for me. I'm not like a microbiologist, like secretly hiding in like Viterbi. So yeah, kind of an unconventional answer. I don't think a lot of CS students will offer. Nope, Matthew's shaking his head. Nope, a lot of people complain about that class. It's known for just crushing people.
I have current friends in that class right now that are struggling very hardcore.
Oh, yeah, it can be tough. It can be tough. The past assignment that they're doing is APL trees, which is known for just making people cry a little bit. But it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get through it. You know.
It's okay. It's Mark Redekop. Who doesn't love Mark Redekop?
Fantastic boss also, because I work for him in 104. But yeah.
That's so
yeah.
cool.
I love that. When you said 104, like not even having any connections to the CS world, I'm like, I've heard of that class.
No, it's that's why it's like such a nerdy answer. I don't know. I feel like not a lot of people quite like that class. That was like the one class that made me feel like I belonged in Viterbi and in computer science.
Well, Tan, taking us away from some of our favorite classes, what advice would you give students when they're trying to decide what to minor in? We all have very different minors. I know we kind of all talked a little bit about how we ended up where we ended up, but what advice would you guys give kids that are trying to figure out what they want to do?
I would definitely say follow your passion. When I was originally looking at minors, I was thinking about just doing something to do something or getting something useful, like a business minor, even though I'm not necessarily like the most passionate about it. And I feel like I'm 100% more happy and just more fulfilled because I'm doing something I'm passionate about. So if you're getting a minor, don't just get the minor because you think it will look good if you hate the subject or you're just not interested in it at all. Follow what you're passionate about and you'll really enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I think Jordan and I definitely have the more, slightly out there, less, tangibly useful minors. And I have very similar advices. It's just about like being passionate about it, having something that lets you kind of get engineering off your back. It's great. And we love our classes, but it gets to be a lot sometimes. And it's nice to have a bit of a break. The one thing I would say is that most courses and minors have at least like one undergrad component or like one crossover GE class. In my experience, at least, I think so. So it's always pretty easy. Like if you have an interest in something, try and find like their intro class, their GE class, or just go to like one of the professors in the department and ask them how they structure it, how that works, because every single one is going to be a different size, different structure, whether it's feasible for you. Professors are always really happy to talk about that because it's what they love and they see that you're going out of your way to make that something that you love too. So it's always worth talking to someone and just seeing if it's going to be what's right for you. Just kind of find what you can't give up that you loved.
Okay. So the great thing about USC is there are so many different kinds of classes. So if you're pushing yourself to figure out what minor to minor in, I highly suggest taking that extra space in your schedule because most engineering majors are big. Like you will not have like tons of elective credit compared to other majors. If you don't want to tie yourself to one subject, that is okay. You don't have to minor in something to fully get like a well-rounded undergrad experience. Like if you are like, there's like surfing classes, there's like anything from like art, you could take film classes. And if you don't necessarily want to dedicate like 4 or 5 classes to one specific subject, that is okay. I think in the grand scheme of things, like a minor is a very small part of your undergraduate experience. And if you don't like have one thing that pops out to you, all good, you know. There's a lot of very fun classes that you can take outside of a minor. And in some cases, depending on what you do like, that might be a better option for you if you have a lot of diverse interests.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And like, you know, it's also okay to audit courses as well. Auditing provides a great way without kind of having that scary of like, I need to get a good grade in this class. It just allows you to sit in and watch kind of like how these different classes are structured and how these minors will end up kind of paving your way through. And so it's a really good insight to figure out what do you really like and what do you want to stay in and continue that like certain passion for. And kind of what Matthew said too is basically don't do something you don't like, you know, don't like just follow what you do like. If there's a really big passion coming from high school that you don't want to give up, find a good way to minor in it, because I think that's really great and you don't have to give that up even when you're in fraternity. It's hard sometimes to balance all that, but it is doable. And it's really fun once you do, because I think it's definitely worth it by the end.
I totally agree. Can you explain a little bit about what auditing is?
Yeah, so auditing is a great way when you're basically registering for courses. It would omit getting any grade or pass, no pass. It's essentially like taking a class without it ever popping up on your GPA or on your like registration list pretty much. And so it's a really great way without kind of having those like, you know, if I just didn't show up or didn't do any of the assignments, you don't have to get graded on any of that. It's okay because you're auditing the course. So it's really nice. It's kind of cool. It's like you're like a little ghost and you just gotta get to sit in just like a viewer, spectator. So it's really cool.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with everyone. I really think that the most important part, I think, in minoring is just like following what you're passionate about, even if it's not really related to what you want to do, especially if you're looking in terms of like graduate school or talking to recruiters. They just love students that are passionate. Like they want to hear what excites us, what drives us, like what we're going to bring to their school or their company, and talking about something that is outside of what they're always hearing about with their basic majors, I think definitely sets us apart and is just a great, exciting thing to do. So,
I suppose to add the more pragmatic side of that, if you choose to listen to none of us and decide to say, I need a minor that supports my major and makes me even more hireable. On a pragmatic side, choose business or communications minors. You get cool perks. Like I know communications ones, you get access to free Photoshop and stuff. And then business ones, you get to start signing up for rooms in the business school that are really nice study rooms. So if you want to listen to us not at all and not go for something you're passionate in, at least get something with a lot of perks.
No, but full stop, if you're thinking about business, I'm taking a business class right now. There are really cool classes within the business school. I just personally, like, I meant no hate to business earlier. It's just none of the minors fit my interest. So I figured I'd just rather take business classes outside of the minor. And business minors are very cool.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's another thing I initially was drawn to at Viterbi is like they always emphasize engineering plus, but it like actually happens when you're here. Like some of my favorite classes have been outside of Viterbi, outside of my minor, and just like a random journalism class that I just really wanted to take. It was called The Power and Responsibility of the Press. And it was so cool. Every week we had a new guest lecture, and we got to hear from like the CFO of the New York Times came in, and like there's this one guy that came, I forget his name, but he was doing a whole like streaming research and like different documentation, and he was telling us all like the psychoanalyzation of like streaming services and how many people will have and like how they're becoming more competitive and kind of the evolution of streaming and why there's a million different ones now, and kind of the history on it, which is really cool. And so just stuff like that, and every week it was like a new super memorable speaker. And that was one thing I always heard them say that happens at Viterbi. That was cool to know when we got here. It actually did. what Matthew said with the perks, that's another thing. When you minor, you're like joining another school. And so you get like their newsletters, all their perks. I just got to go to like an Ivy and Young Academy, which is what the disruptive innovation minors in. I got to go into one of their like entrepreneurship workshop sessions the other night, which was really cool. So definitely look into that. A lot of prospective students might be wondering what the value or difference is between a minor and a double major. And I was hoping that we could kind of address that.
I guess I could take this one. So like the difference between a minor and a double major is a minor is like at max, like maybe like up to like 8 classes, 9 classes maybe. I know that computer science minor can get pretty big and like the business minor is also big. A double major is a full separate major. So that these are like 60 unit like extra added classes on top of your schedule. So a lot of students, especially in live chats, love to say they are looking to double major with the Viterbi major. So note, Viterbi majors are like 130 units. You're going to be adding at minimum 40 to 60 units on top of that. So I think the great thing about minors compared to say a double major is you might be able to take, oh, I can take my minor and I might be able to take that fun sailing class, or I might be able to not take like 24 units a semester. So I think that's one of the primary distinctions. But that being said, if you do take a double major, you get to learn that field. You get to have expertise in a whole other field, which is why some people do it.
I would say, I mean, I don't really know that many people that double major in engineering, because you do have to be built different, to say it colloquially, to be doing a double major. You're probably gonna have to take summer classes. You're gonna be working with your advisors. You're gonna be finding overlapping. You're gonna be trying to convince them that this class fulfills both the requirements. It's a lot with an engineering major to double major, just because the way it is, our majors are big. That's just the way it's gonna be. But I will say, kind of to take this question in a different direction, classics obviously is something that you can major in. Some minors have majors, some minors are just minors. But I know that when I go and spend time with classics majors, people that have done this class, that's their entire undergraduate work. That's what they do day in, day out, is learn about these civilizations. Like I was talking about earlier, context is so important when you're trying to learn something. And when you have expertise in that field, it's so much easier to just draw upon this wealth of knowledge that you have in your head that you don't even realize that you're pulling on. Like today I was in a classics tea and they were talking about the most esoteric stuff and random terminology and archaeology that they've learned because they just happen to take archaeological classes that overlap with classics in their major. And so it is a bit intimidating sometimes to be a minor in that environment where you're not going to have the same level of expertise. But in some ways, that's kind of the best part, is that you get to be around these people and still be exposed to someone that has that level of understanding. Like you get to understand and be close with people that, it's always better to be surrounded by people that know more than you. I think that should always be a goal if you're someone that's looking to be curious, which I think almost everyone in Viterbi is. So I'd say that's one of the benefits of having a minor, even though you don't get that expertise.
That was really good advice. Okay, fun question. Jordan, I know that you are on the USC Song Girls. How does that work in with your dance minor / does there any connection there?
I would definitely say somewhat, but not really, if that makes sense. Obviously, as a dance minor, I get to take dance classes, and a lot of the dance classes at our dance school has helped me like prepare for auditions or refine my technique. But I really like the Song Girls because it adds a different aspect to dance rather than just all the technical and like extremely like more, it's more performance based. Like as a song girl, I spend my time trying to basically cheer on the crowd and get everybody involved by performing and like supporting our team. Versus in my dance classes, I'm a lot more focused on less on the performance aspect and more on like how can I like perfect my craft and how can I hone my skills such that I can do like these technical things better. And it does help me be better on the field, but at the same time, like I like them, but I think they're both, I get something different out of both of them, which is why I do both my minor and my major. Oh my gosh, not my major. Sorry, guys. My minor and the USC Song Girls. But yeah, I really like them both.
That's awesome. So I think we are coming to an end here. Is there anything else anyone wanted to add about major and minor, advice I'd give to students, anything else?
I guess my last piece of advice is don't be afraid to combine the things you're minoring in and majoring in. So I'm part of the engineering honors program, and I'm actually using my minor and my major and pulling from both aspects to develop a point to. So don't be afraid to try and bring professors from two different departments together in something that you have had expertise in both, and be like, look, I see this problem in dance that I could solve from a biomedical engineering perspective, but I want more than one person to like look in on this project and tell me if I'm like not going crazy. So I would say definitely like use the resources of your minor and your major and just take advantage of where they overlap.
I would say I kind of have a completely disparate to this entire conversation piece of advice, just because we haven't really addressed it. Peyton, you were kind of talking about how like you don't have to have a minor. You can do a whole wide breadth of things. You can do whatever you want with your extra credits. That's fantastic. USC offers so much, and that is very true and great. I'd say something else that's kind of important to think about is don't ever feel like you're being pushed into a minor. You can love something and take classes in it and make your own path. Sometimes minors can be a bit constricting. Like you have a certain amount of degree requirements, you have a certain area that you have to be taking something in. It is in a certain way, as any program would be, restrictive. If you have something that you know you care about and you just simply have a specific niche in that you care about, you don't care about one separate part of it, or you don't really care about having it be a part of your schedule that you want to put in your life, if you just want to pursue it, just talk to professors. Everyone is always open to you doing your own thing. Maybe they'll give you a minor if you happen to plan out these 4 courses and say, hey, would this fill the requirements? Maybe they'll say no. Probably they'll say no. But you might happen upon the person where if you lobby for it, you'll get there. It's your own time in college. So never feel like you have to be joining into the structures that they give you. At USC, the entire point is that if you're passionate about something, you can pursue it. That's the best benefit of it, is that we have access to literally top tier programs in any field. So if you've ever wanted to combine anything, take advantage of that.
I love that. Great advice. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. It was so great hearing about everyone's minors, their advice just in life and in school. And we hope you all tune in again.
All right, that was an awesome episode. Thank you so much. I was wondering, do you have any advice for people who might want to add something to their Viterbi education but don't know like where to start in adding a minor?
Yeah, I would say definitely just check out the minor course catalog. It's a great kind of launching point. You can see what kind of classes different minors take in the different schools within USC. And it just gives you a kind of good ground layout for what different minors would look like. And you definitely do not have to minor to take classes in the school area. I know we kind of emphasized that in our podcast. So if you want to just kind of pick and choose your favorite courses from some of the business classes, but don't necessarily want to be kind of structured into that entrepreneurship minor, I would definitely recommend doing that.
Yeah, that's super true. Because like for me, I'm pre-med. So I've taken a lot of meds classes, which are just like, they're on track for the medical minor. But it's just fun to be in those classes. And just, I get to pick and choose the ones that seem the most interesting without having to do like the entire track. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about college too. We talk about it a little, how you kind of just are in control of your own schedule and get to take things that you enjoy and that excite you. So definitely just kind of, I would say for incoming students, just pick what excites you and stay true to your passions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye.